able to join us, if anybody isn't able to join us tonight, then they can watch this later. So thank you again for being here tonight. If you have any questions, please feel free to let Mr. Peterson know, or you can drop it in the chat and I can let him know that you have a question too. So whatever way you're more comfortable with. And if you could introduce yourself and tell us what's going to happen tonight, and I'm going to mute myself and let you have the floor.
Right on. Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy the chance to be able to get out and do some things that are educational for folks. So I hope that this is advantageous for everybody involved. I'd love to share and pass on knowledge. So thank you so much. I'm going to do a little bit about my story kind of as we go through. If you have questions along the way, absolutely, please drop them into the chat. We're going to have a little bit of time at the end that I'll be able to answer some questions. If I'll probably do 4 or 5 at least, but we should be able to wrap it up pretty simply. I can't address anything very specific to any particular individual or circumstance, but definitely on a broader scope, on a more educational level. Yeah, let's get into it. So here we go, a More Than Money Matters workshop. This one is called Financial Foundations, Your Blueprint to Thrive. So think with me for a minute about a day that defines your history. A day that's woven into the fabric of your life. It could be the death of a parent, the birth of a child, momentous days like paying off a loan, renting your first apartment, or buying a house. Days like that can signal the end of an era and form a blueprint for something different. Even amidst the anxiety caused by the pandemic, we adopted new ways to connect, to find greater purpose in community and in our lives, proving that amidst the loss and the fear, we can become richer and create new plans for the future. We're here today to talk about creating plans for 3 days in particular that, depending on your financial blueprint, could change everything for you and the people who matter most to you. Before we jump in, today is an important day to me. It's another day that I get to bring people like you together and help you improve your financial clarity. And I'd like to take a minute to share why this is so deeply personal to me. Hi, my name is J.R. Peterson. I am a financial advisor for Thrivent. In my teenage years, and I know that Rise Up is very committed and connected to teens. In my teenage years, I was blessed to be introduced to drug and alcohol prevention programs. That led me into violence prevention programs. That led me into experiential education programs with intercultural living and international travel. Gave me some great experience in the nonprofit world. I worked for churches, I worked for hospice organizations, I worked for theater companies. Lots of great stuff there. I was able to reconnect with a woman who is now my wife of 11 years, and we formed our family together. During that time, I worked in the retail world. I sold shoes for Shoe Carnival for about 11 years. My heart wasn't really in that, but what I found is that as a manager, I was helping the young people that I was coaching and managing and talking to them about financial concepts. I would hand them their 401k package and say, here you go. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this does for you? Most of the time they would say no. And I would take that moment as a manager to sit down and talk to them about the importance of planning for their financial future. And so it's real important for me today to be able to pass on that knowledge. I worked for a couple years for Edward Jones in St. Louis, but I always knew that I didn't want to stay in St. Louis. Chattanooga was kind of the dream. And so I specifically sought out Thrivent because I had heard about the company, the values that they embody, and it provided me the opportunity to live the dream, which is awesome. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about Thrivent towards the end, But let's get our plans in motion. So for the next few minutes, we're going to discover key concepts to help you prepare your financial blueprint in 3 important days. First, you'll learn how to protect your final wishes on your last day. Next, you'll learn how to build a financial foundation that will keep you moving forward when faced with setbacks from the day you don't see coming. Then you'll learn what you need to do today to keep your strategy on track, to achieve financial clarity and accomplish your goals. And so you can apply what you've learned here to your unique situation. You're going to have access to 2 free resources to get you started. One day you're not going to cover is the first day of your retirement. Today we'll focus on the blueprint that serves as the foundation of your retirement. But retirement planning is like the sequel to this session. And when we wrap up, I'll include some of the information on that too. So on to our first topic, preparing for your last day. Let's look at an example of how important having a financial blueprint can be. So I remember exactly where I was when I heard that Prince died, or the artist formerly known as Prince, who was then later Prince again. So do you remember when he died suddenly in April of 2016? A recent article in USA Today noted that Prince's estate, quote, is believed to be worth hundreds of millions and is still unsettled, still not officially valued, and still not dispersed to his heirs, his 6 siblings, unquote. Why? Because Prince did not have a will to designate where he wanted his assets to go. Now, we may not have the wealth that Prince did, but no matter the size of your estate, a will and designating beneficiaries of your assets is vital. That bears repeating. No matter the size of your estate, a will and designating beneficiaries of your assets is vital. A will is a legal document that sets forth your wishes regarding the distribution of your property and the care of any minor children. If you die without a will, your wishes may not be carried out. On your last day, if there is no written record of your decisions, there is no guarantee your decisions will be honored. Another important tool to consider that covers your concerns about the last day is a document that helps your loved ones make decisions for you. What options do you have if your health keeps you from making decisions? If you can't advocate for yourself because you're in a coma or on a ventilator, how do you make medical decisions? Who would you want to make those decisions for you? There are 2 tools that help you answer those questions. They're a durable power of attorney and a healthcare directive. These tools are similar, but have important differences. Let's do a little quiz to illustrate. Which tool allows you to name someone to make decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated? Anybody want to step in there, come off mute, make a guess?
Is it both?
It is both, yes. Both can serve this function, but the decisions made by a person given power of attorney could extend beyond healthcare. With a durable power of attorney, you can appoint anyone you want and specify what he or she can and cannot do on your behalf. Without a durable power of attorney, no one can represent you unless a court appoints a conservator or a guardian. That court process takes time, it costs money, and the judge may not choose the person that you would prefer. All right, Which tool allows you to give instructions on your choices and preferences for medical care if you can't communicate them on your own? Anybody want to jump in on this one?
An obvious one, I would guess B, but I'm thinking it might be both again.
Danielle, what do you think? Hi.
You're muted, Danielle.
Here, oh, I had you for a second.
Hi,
There
can
you
you hear me? Sorry.
Oh, I got you. It's all right.
I'll say C for both.
Okay. Here, actually, it is specifically the healthcare directive. The name kind of says it all. And you may be thinking, well, my spouse can make these decisions. He or she knows what I want. That may be true if you've discussed with your spouse all the details, including specific medical procedures, right? Whether you want CPR, the use of a ventilator and what that looks like, a feeding tube or IV fluids, comfort care or life extending care. All of those are part of the conversation. Taking the burden of guessing off your loved one's shoulders is a way to support him or her when you otherwise cannot. If you had a chance to take some of the burdens of decision makings off of your surviving loved one's shoulders, would you? There's one more last day plan you may want to add to your financial blueprint. Have you ever thought about how you would like your loved ones to experience the day they celebrate your life? Maybe you heard a song at church that you want played at your funeral, or you have a special verse that's meaningful to you. These are deeply personal decisions that reflect who you are. You consider flowers or charitable gifts in lieu of flowers, the burial method, the officiant, any detail that's important to you. Making the decisions now is a gift to your loved ones later. Here's a story to illustrate. Jennifer and her husband have been together since junior high, and they've been married for 15 years. They're a good example of opposites attract. Jennifer has her plans detailed. Traditional burial after a service at her church with a brass quintet. She's listed 3 verses to read, and she's begun to draft an obituary. Her husband, Dennis, wants simplicity. Cremation, maybe a small family gathering over members. Jennifer and Dennis agreed on a number of things and took action. They lined up burial plots a few years ago in the same cemetery as her parents. They purchased small life insurance policies to cover the cost of everything. And they shared the notes for all their plans with their sons and their sons' godparents. You can see these are personal decisions. They're different for everyone. You don't have to make them right this second. Put a date on your calendar. Start compiling your decisions. Put them into writing. Preparing for the inevitable is an important part of a financial blueprint. Planning for the unknown is also important. Accidents are, by definition, unforeseen and unplanned events or circumstances. A fender bender on your way to work, loose turf on the soccer field you didn't see. Your preparedness is what makes the difference between a minor setback and a major financial catastrophe that takes months or years to recover from. Insurance can help you protect against dramatic loss. In most states, you're required by law to provide proof of insurance on your car. And if you have a mortgage, show proof of insurance on your home. So it begs the question, Would you pay for car insurance if it weren't required? My guess is we got a mix of people on both camps on that. You're aware of the decreasing value of your cars, but do you know what's your most valuable asset? Your income earning potential is an important asset, even if you don't think about it that way. Let me explain. How essential is your paycheck? It's predictability to your daily routine. It impacts the food you eat, the clothes on your back, the home where you live, gifts, charities, saving for a future, all of that. Now, imagine what would happen if you couldn't go to work. How long could you continue to pay your mortgage or rent without a paycheck? Could you cover all your essential needs for 3 months, 6 months? Here's what happened to Stephanie. She always knew she wanted to be a doctor. Once she finished her residency, Stephanie spent a few weeks each year on medical mission trips in countries around the globe. And that's where her injury occurred. She was playing pickup basketball on an outdoor court, landed wrong, and blew out her knee. Weeks and months passed, many surgeries, but nothing seemed to help ease her constant pain. Stephanie wasn't able to practice medicine again. Now, fortunately, Stephanie's ability to earn was protected. She had been inspired to buy disability income insurance after having a conversation with her neighbors 5 years ago. He was using a wheelchair after a recent car accident and said to her, "Not planning for unfortunate things to happen doesn't mean they don't." It's more, I don't know why he has an accent. It's just fun like that. It's more common than you might imagine for workers in the prime of their life to suddenly be unable to work due to illness or injury. More than, get this, more than 1 in 4 of today's 20-year-olds will be unable to work before retirement age. And that's according to the Social Security Administration. When my clients and I explore this insurance option, most people imagine high-risk jobs where someone falls off the scaffolding 6 feet, 6 stories high. But there are other ways that you can become unable to work. I'm talking about like office workers who can no longer work because their cancer treatments made them too weak, or an injury on the basketball court that's damaged their wrist nerves to the point where they can barely type. You might think you're covered already in case of a disability, but do you know how well? Here's some food for thought. Employer paid benefits may be taxable and only cover a short term. Workers' compensation is limited to job-related disabilities. Many employers, and especially small businesses, don't offer disability income insurance. And self-employed individuals need to create their own kind of safety net. Look, you can be in control. Your blueprint can be designed to protect yourself and the people who matter most to you when your income is interrupted by illness or injury. We've explored the value of disability income insurance. Now let's talk about how to provide for your family when you die unexpectedly. Have you explored ways to provide for loved ones when you're gone? What kind of legacy are you planning on leaving? Do you have life insurance? And can you confidently explain to a friend or rationale for why you do or why you don't? This is the type of real talk you should expect from an informed, thoughtful financial professional. Getting too fast there. All right, pull up in your imagination for me the image of a teeter-totter. Okay, teeter-totters require balance of weight to work effectively. Deciding where life insurance fits in your personal strategy requires a similar balance of weight, the weight of your goals and what matters most to you. On one side, what type of insurance helps you accomplish your goals? On the other side, how much insurance is the right amount? So first, what kind? There was a time for me when life insurance was like this dizzying array of phrases and acronyms. But as I studied more, I found the financial science as interesting as the physics behind our teeter-totter we were just talking about. Within each type of life insurance, there's a tapestry of riders and investment options, and your insurance can reflect priorities as unique as your goals. There are many options to choose from, and working with your insurance professional can help you determine the best type of life insurance for you and your goals and your needs. And because I believe in investing energy to understand the things that truly drive you, this becomes a very personal conversation about how to build a financial blueprint that reflects your purpose, values, and dreams. You can deepen your understanding of your priorities and how the array of insurance solutions fit into your strategy with one of the free resources available at the end of the session. All right, back to the other half of our teeter-totter. With your goals clear and the right type of insurance in focus, it's time to bring the other side into balance by answering how much is the right amount. So let's do some back of the envelope math. And I promise you don't need to have as many math credits as an actuary. So the first method is a basic needs calculation. It's the most basic way to consider the math. So you take your annual income and you multiply it by 10 and add in all your loans and credit card balances and cost of final expenses like a funeral, which, if you're not aware, right now in Tennessee, the average for final expenses is about $19,000. It's close to $7,000 for the funeral, and then the other portion is usually medical expenses that occur close to end of life. All right, the second method is commonly referred to as a human life value. So this equation, you take your annual income times the number of years you're planning to work. So if you're going to work another 20 years, times 20. Or another 30 years, times 30. The third method is called income replacement. So Tim and Taylor are a great example of this. So Tim's goal for Taylor and their two daughters was to count on his teaching salary of $50,000 a year for a period of 20 years. That comes out to $1 million income need. When their financial professional shared this option, Tim winced. He asked, seriously? I'm just a teacher. This feels like we're buying more than we need. But the concept of $1 million of insurance and the monthly premium felt too steep for the two of them. And maybe you can relate. You might be like Tim and Taylor and want to build a safety net, but you're also on a budget. Who's not, right? Hearing Tim and Taylor's feedback, their financial professional walked them through another option. She explained it like this. While the $1 million death benefit would provide you with the income replacement that we agreed is appropriate, it's my job as a financial professional to give you some options that fit within your budget. Starting with $750,000 would still be enough coverage to replace 75% of your income for 20 years, or 100% of your income for 15 years. however you want to look at it. Let's look at pricing options for 750,000 of coverage, and then understand that we'll reassess in the future. So this way, if your situation changes, we can make sure you still have appropriate coverage. Well, Tim and Taylor liked that suggestion, and they walked away from their meeting ready to take those next steps. They better understood their coverage needs and realized that their needs change over time. They're relieved to know they had options, and they were grateful for the thoughtful conversation. In my personal practice, I often have conversations with folks when we're talking about term insurance and permanent insurance. And I don't want to chase down this rabbit hole, but just in general, it's not a matter of one or the other. Oftentimes it's a combination of both and. So there could be a lot of different products that play into that mix for your particular situation. So speaking of thoughtful conversations, so after hearing Tim and Taylor's story, you might be thinking, I'd like to have that kind of conversation with a financial professional. Well, you can. Before we talk about the third topic in our session, what to do today, remember at the beginning of our time, I promised you get access to 2 free resources. Well, one of those resources is a complimentary strategy session with me. In that session, when we start your conversation, 3 things will happen. We will look at your overall financial picture and prioritize what's most important to you. We're going to create at least one strategy that you can use to build stability into your financial picture. We'll talk about what it looks like to work together and if you'd like help implementing the recommended strategy. If you want this resource, after our session, there's going to be a QR code that pops up for a survey. Question number 2 in the survey provides a direct link to my calendar to schedule your session. Just click the link, pick a time, put in your contact information. You'll get an email from me confirming the session. Resource number 2 is our Thrivent Pyramid. This resource will give you a blueprint to build a solid foundation and a checklist to help you achieve your goals. So question number 1 in the survey asks if you want this resource. And if so, all you need to do is check that box, put your name and email address, it'll be emailed to you. Okay. So what you need to do today and every day will only take a sec. SEC, that's an acronym. Savings, expenses, credit. So S is for savings, which helps you avoid money emergencies, right? There are all sorts of approaches to take. And for our conversation today, let's go with good, better, best. A good start is $1,000. It'll help you cover the unexpected. The dog needs surgery, your washing machine broke, there's a trip to the ER. We all understand that life happens. Many of these types of expenses would be covered by that $1,000. Having liquid savings often means you won't have to resort to charging it on an expensive high interest credit card, right? A better amount for your emergency savings account is 3 months of expenses. This can help you be prepared for larger unexpected expenses like a job loss or a job change. You may need to take some time off work to handle a medical crisis in the family. Imagine not having to worry about a pause in your income at a time like that. Having emergency savings in place would enable you to focus on your loved ones when they need it the most. Now, What would you think if I said the best goal for an emergency savings account is 6 months of living expenses? That's a lot of money. If you did some math in your head just now and divided your total income by 2 to get to a 6-month number, don't panic. That's half your annual income, right? The number you want is half your annual expenses. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but saving up half of your annual expenses may be manageable. Now, imagine that amount in your bank account. What kind of weight off your shoulders, what kind of comfort could you gain by having that amount of money available for whenever life hits us sideways? It's not the things we're doing that keep us up at night. Rather, it's all the things we're not getting to, that we're not able to take care of, that stresses us out. There's no doubt that this is the hardest savings mountain to climb. I bring it up because it is realistically going to take some time and likely years. If that scenario makes you hesitate to get started, let me tell you, I'm going to skip that part. I was going to tell you about Drew, but I'm going to skip Drew's story. So the second letter in SEC is E for expenses. Managing your monthly expenses can be as simple or as complex as you want. But when setting your priorities and making trade-off decisions, there are 2 simple guidelines to keep in mind. Number 1, spend less than you make. Number 2, allocate 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings. Now, if your cash flow looks like this today, congratulations. And if it doesn't, today's the day to start adjusting and redrawing your blueprint so that you have a strong financial foundation. The final letter is C. C is for credit and debt, more precisely. And this is the final piece of our workshop today. Here are 3 ways to ensure that your use of credit is an enabler and not a barrier to achieving your goals. So first off, keep housing costs under 28% of gross income. Keep remaining debt payments under 40% of your gross income. And then review your credit report at least twice a year. Go to annualcreditreport.com to get that for free. Once you have your savings, expenses, and credit in order, you will only need to take a second or a sec. See what I did there? Every couple of weeks, and then you can make sure that you're staying on track to achieve some financial clarity and accomplish what matters most for you. All right, we've covered a lot today. And as we wrap up, I want to remind you to make this blueprint your own and request your 2 free resources on the survey that pop up at the end of the session. Hopefully we'll have another chance later on down the road to kind of do the part 2 here. And that will really focus on building out your retirement and understanding what that looks like. So during this session, the last few moments, you've learned about the implication of several momentous days. But the days mentioned, of those, today is the most important. The actions you take and the blueprint you set in place today will affect all your todays to come. I told you I'd tell you just a little bit about Thrivent, so let me go into that just quickly. So for over 100 years, Thrivent has been helping people build their financial futures and living more generous lives. Today, we are a Fortune 500 company. We offer a full range of expert financial solutions. We serve over 2 million clients. In the next couple of years, that's going to be close to 3 million, as well as the communities in which they live and work by doing things like this, engagement, education pieces. So we exist to help people achieve that financial clarity in their lives. At our heart, we are a holistic financial services organization, providing advice, investments, insurance, banking, and generosity programs and solutions to help people make the most of all they've been given. We focus on your goals and your priorities, and we guide you towards financial choices that'll help you live the life you want today and tomorrow. Look, your financial journey starts with the first step. And we have a variety of tools and resources to help you. Here's just a few of the ways. So our financial professionals take the time to get to know you, help you create a financial plan that fits your priorities. Our investment options allow you to balance performance and purpose, which I think is really cool. Our insurance, we have the right insurance offerings to protect what matters most in your life. Banking allows you to manage, track, save, and spend money to support your goals. And then, are you thankful for all you've been given? We can help you give back. Our financial strength and stability means that we can fulfill the promises we make to our current and future clients. That commitment is at the heart of everything we do. For over the last decade, we've been recognized by Ethisphere as one of the world's most ethical companies, which speaks to Thrivent's culture. As a matter of fact, 11 straight years on that list. With billions of dollars in assets, we're here to stay, and we're going to keep our promises to the people that we serve. I'll share a quick story. In 2021, we had a member pass away in South Dakota. And at the time, she was the oldest living person in South Dakota, a record holder, right? She died at the young age of 115. Thrivent issued a check to the family for a policy that was written 97 years ago. How cool is that, right? That's the kind of commitment to be there for our members and our members' families when they need it. So that's just a little bit about Thrivent, how we are a unique financial services organization. And if you want to find more, you can obviously go onto thrivent.com. And as we wrap up or go into Q&A, here's some disclosures. So we've got a few moments. Hopefully I was fast enough. Yeah, not too bad. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If like when I was looking at the piece for like your, where's it at? Like your savings. So how much would you suggest, like say someone is just starting out and they want to get to that first one of $1,000, how do you say get to that quickly as possible, or just budget that into your, I guess, every time you get paid? Or
Yeah, however makes sense, right? So a lot of folks I'll sit down with, and they mentally think in kind of a month-to-month cadence, right? And so it may make sense for them because they already have that discipline to do something on kind of a monthly basis until they can hit that amount. Other folks are really driven by a target, right? So I'll give them a target number. Like, all right, first target's $1,000. Let's go. How soon can we get that funded? And they get to $1,000 and we celebrate. High fives all around. You know what? Yeah, you got to 1,000. All right, here's the next target. We're going to go for 3 months of living expenses. Let's go. And so you try to do that as quickly as possible. So it really depends a lot on who we're working with and what's comfortable for them. I always tell people, look, I want to find something that you're going to feel comfortable implementing in your life. If I tell you you got to put $200 away every month and you're not comfortable with that, guess what? It's not going to happen, right? So we have to look at it from a reasonable perspective. How can we get there and how can we do it successfully? Good question, though. And I think, too, kind of that pie that talked about your expenses, right? So 50% for your needs, 30% for your wants, and 20% for your savings. I think that's good perspective for people to have conversations with, and especially if it's not just you handling the money, right? So spouses or people living together as roommates, whoever's working together toward a financial future, you need to have those conversations. And that kind of helps create a framework for the priorities of what that should look like. Hopefully that answered your question. I know I kind of gave you two answers there, but what else? I was not monitoring the chat, so if anything popped up in the chat, I did not see it.
One of the ladies said she had to leave, but she was thanking you very much for the information you were sharing.
Excellent. I did mention I was going to put the QR code up. So let me find that on my screen. No, I can't find it. See, Sandy, this is why I had to practice with it beforehand.
All good.
All right. So, there we go. You guys see that okay?
I do. I guess I shouldn't say we. I do.
So to get the free resource, what you'll want to do there is just pull up your smartphone to that image. We're in Chattanooga, so most of us have probably used QR codes before. You need it just to eat around town, from what I understand. So, and I might too drop a link into the chat. Yeah, what happened?
I was trying to think of a question, but it was very informative. Clynette said that as well in the chat. I don't know if you saw that. She said it's very informative and it's helping her think of ways to begin implementing a few strategies that you presented. And she said, thank you.
Good. All right, so there's the link. I think it went directly to you.
Oh, okay. I'm copying, I'm sending that to everyone now. I forgot that because we use this for teens as well, that I have it set that way so they can't talk to each other during the workshop.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
The link to that QR code that he had shared on his screen is in the chat if you missed the QR code.
Or if
Thank
you're just
you.
on the one device, sometimes it's easier to just click where it is and
That's
pull it
true.
up. Yep.
And if there was anything that you guys missed or you want to review, like listen to again, we did record this. It is still recording. It will be on our YouTube. So you can go to Rise Up's YouTube in order to view that, to review the information. And I hope that you choose to reach out to JR and have him help you, especially if you're thinking about some of these strategies that he talked about tonight, because he definitely can walk you through that and help you get to a point where you feel like you're good, you're succeeding, and your blueprint is mapped out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be honored. I love those moments where somebody has an aha moment while we're sitting in the office talking about something, or even better, to just, you see the weight leave their shoulders, right? Because we've had these conversations, now we've got a direction of where we're going, and all that weight has just been lifted off. So fantastic. I'd be honored to help any of you experience that sensation.
The link isn't working for some reason.
Oh, okay.
When I did the QR code, it came up just fine, but the link is not taking them to it.
Oh, you know what? It's a double periods instead in there instead of slash. It should be slash slash. That's why. All right, let's try that.
All right, let's try that again. I'm going to send this to everybody. Let's see if that one works for you guys.
That one created a hyperlink, so much better chance.
Aha. Yep. And I copied and pasted it into my web browser and it pulled up for me. Yep. And Clynette said it worked for her as well. Awesome. All right.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time. I appreciate you hanging out with us. Hopefully it's been valuable.
Most definitely. Thank everyone so much for being here tonight. And thank you, JR, for your time tonight and for sharing with us. So it's greatly appreciated. And again, make sure you reach out to JR. He can help you. Thank you all so much. And you have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.